Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today I'm doing a review for Icarus by K. Ankrum. This is her most recent release. It is YA contemporary. In it, we are following a boy named Icarus who, his father is a art forger and an art thief. And he has kind of trained Icarus to assist him in both forgeries and thievery. However, he really only forges and thieves and steals art from one specific person in their town. There is this man, I think his name is Mr. Black, who lives in this like large mansion that over the years they are slowly but surely replacing his entire art collection with forgeries. So Icarus's father has some vendetta against this one man, which we do eventually learn more about. But at the beginning, Icarus doesn't know why he's doing this. He just knows that this is his life, and it really makes his life very small and contained because he's not allowed to make friends at school because his father does not want their secret to be exposed. No one ever comes over to their house because that would also expose their secret. So he lives this very isolated life and has also developed these very specialized skills in like forgery and also essentially breaking and entering, being able to like scale walls and things like that. But Icarus wants out. He does not want this life. He doesn't understand why his father does this, why he insists that they live like this, and he wants more freedom. Like he wants to live his life, but he feels very like constrained by his father. So he's making plans for escape. One night when he has broken into Mr. Black's house to like scope out a painting, he is caught by Mr. Black's son, who he didn't even know existed. But his son is named Helios. And Helios is kind of under house arrest by order of his father, not like court ordered. And so he is like desperate to talk to anybody because he is pretty much alone, completely alone in this giant house. And even when his father is home, he does not have a good relationship with his father. So even though he knows Icarus is stealing from his father, he doesn't care. He just says like, please come visit me. I need to talk to somebody. And so the two of them strike up what becomes a like very intense relationship. As you may gather from their names, Icarus and Helios, you know, there is this kind of pull that Icarus feels towards Helios, the sun. At the same time, at the beginning of this book, he starts to like make more connections with other kids. He has always been very careful to only make superficial connections, trying to really fly under the radar, like not be so much of an outsider that it catches attention, but also never really integrating with any friend groups or even individual friends. But he starts to really engage with other kids at school and starts to make some real friends, which is a new experience for him and is both kind of emotionally fraught and also makes him even more motivated to like, he doesn't want to leave these friends, but also it gives him a taste of like what a life with freedom and relationships could be. I love K. Ankrum's books, and I feel like this might be my new favorite from her. I kind of already want to reread it, even though I just read it like a couple months ago. It feels almost like dark academia adjacent. It doesn't have like a full dark academia setting because it's not at like a university, but it has a lot about like art history, art forgery, art thievery, like all of this that makes it feel kind of dark academia adjacent, as well as this sort of mythology metaphor within it. I don't know if it's a metaphor exactly, because this is not like a retelling of the story of Icarus, but it certainly uses Icarus and Helios as like a metaphor within the story of the relationship and the pull between these characters and the potentially perilous nature of that connection. But I love Kay Ancram's books. I love the way that she writes. She tells the story in these like vignettes of like high emotion. So we're not necessarily following like just every moment of these characters' lives, but these very brief vignettes. Some chapters are like a single page, but they are these like high impact, high emotion and intense moments and meaningful moments in these characters' lives and relationships. There's also just this like feeling of desperation throughout the story, especially just from Icarus, desperation for freedom, but I think a lot more so desperation for connection. He is so isolated and so lonely, and not only him, Helios is also just intensely lonely, and it is these two just like intensely lonely people finding each other and just desperately clinging to each other. Something that I often find just consistently throughout her books are these stories of young people who do not have like adult figures in their lives that they can rely on, that they can go to, that they can just get any form of support from. And so they rely very heavily on their friends, and they often end up in these situations where I feel like if you had had an adult in your corner, and if there was an adult that you had been able to go to, this whole dramatic situation would not have happened. They're kind of doing the best they can with what they have, which also often creates these very like desperate situations. And I just always am like, oh my God, I wish you had like an adult who could help you, because like this desperate situation never would have happened if you had been able to go to them with this problem. Anyways, that's something that happens in many of her books, and I feel like that was, again, the case in this. I did feel like the last maybe quarter of the book moved very quickly, and I was having a bit of a hard time tracking exactly what was happening. I think that might just be me, because sometimes when a lot of things are happening really quickly, I have a hard time tracking that kind of thing, especially right at the end, because I get like too excited and I kind of skip ahead because I'm like, oh my God, I have to know what happened. And then I'm like, cool, I know what happened. How did we get here? So I feel like maybe I was just not tracking it very well. I do think though, there was something about the way the ending was written that I was like, I feel like this would, I can imagine this as a scene in a movie. Like I feel like this would make a good movie. By the end, I did kind of wish that maybe it had done a little bit more with this reference to mythology and the like metaphor of Icarus and Helios and their like relationship. I feel like maybe it could have done a little bit more with that. However, I also like didn't want it to be a retelling. I wanted it to stay like not a retelling. I just feel like it maybe could have integrated a little bit more of that into the story. But overall, it was fantastic. I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. So that is all for my review of Icarus by Kay Ancram. I would love to know if you have read this and what your thoughts were. I just love this so much, and I kind of already want to reread it because I just love the story. I love her writing. I love the vibes. It was just so good. But I would love to know if you have read this, what your thoughts were. If you haven't, do you think you're going to read it? I'm trying to get people to read this book. I've recommended it to a few people because I absolutely adored it. But thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.